Dingus and Dongus.
Hey, Michael.
Episode 50.
I was going to say... I was going to say that. I was going to say, I was going to, this is the special PJ edition, but we're always in our PJs,
Yes,
I think.
almost always, yeah.
So, never mind.
That just means this is making it the 50th special episode.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's the PJ edition,
But
but number 50.
Penta Jams. 5 jams.
That sounds like an arcade game.
Penta Jams?
Pentajams.
I can see that.
Yep.
Like old school, Centipede or
Something
whatever.
like that, yeah.
Hell yeah. I would put $1 in.
Yes.
And then we'll go from there.
But just so you're aware, it costs 50 cents to play.
I will put $1 in and watch as it asks me for more.
Yeah, just wait for someone else to come in and put $1 in.
Yep.
Like, oh, it only costs 25 cents? Wow, this Pentajam is the greatest.
Best game ever. What was that? Wasn't there like some sort of weird curse arcade game, like Polybius or something?
Palabia?
Yes. Plabia. Plagued
Labias.
Oh no.
That's the worst. We don't want that.
I guess you're OBGYN.
Yes.
I want to get that taken care of.
Full support. Support Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we read Folklords, Bat, by Matt Kindt, and a bunch of other people that I totally forgot because I didn't prepare.
Yep. It's not our job to look this stuff up.
No.
I don't know what anyone's thinking. We're not doing the heavy lifting for you.
Exactly. We're just here to goof off.
Yeah, we're gonna talk with each other about some shit, and if you like it enough, you do the heavy lifting to read Folklords by Matt, whatever his name was.
Kindt? Kindt? Kindt. That's
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yes.
It's cutesy, whimsical. It's the setup is essentially like a little, basically your normal hero's journey type situation where there's a quest, young boy goes out into the world and discovers, what he wants to do and shit like that.
Yes. And it also had a second layer of mystery to it that they don't really tell you what's going on. That's not this little boy going on a quest.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot kind of left up in the air by the end of the book, which I wasn't expecting. Well, when I got toward the end, I was like, okay, so they're not gonna wrap this up.
Right. Yeah.
But when I first put the book on the list, it's like, one of one. I guess that's all there is. So
Right.
we're gonna read this.
It also, in a sense, reminded me of the Never-Ending Story in its storytelling devices.
Okay.
Multiple worlds,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, and like
How they are synced.
right, like the fictional world of goblins and elves and gnomes and whatnot are a real existent place that you could be and have things happen.
Yes.
But at the same time, the real world also exists, and there's like some minor cross communication. Like people are aware that
Right.
the other exists.
Not all that I'm aware of. Not all people, at least in this book.
Right. And in fact, it's more of like at least within the fantasy world, it seems to be like they treat the real world as like a dirty secret that
Yes.
nobody should know about.
Which, fair.
Yeah.
It is a horrible, horrible place.
Mm-hmm. And this dumb kid, he's just like determined to find the real world. But it's like, no, buddy. Like you're perfectly fine where you are.
Do we know why he's wearing like a business suit or whatever the hell?
Yeah, I think he became so obsessed with this, with the real world that he sees in his dreams or whatever, that he basically models his entire existence after what he sees.
Gotcha.
In these like visions of our world.
And he chose a business suit. And also, how did he tailor a business suit?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that much in the context, but it's like, really? That? Like,
You think it's made of like sackcloth?
Yes. Dyed sackcloth.
So it's no different than, what any other poor peasant would wear. But it just looks a little better.
Just shaped differently and fit better.
Yeah, but it's still itchy as hell.
Yeah.
One thing about the art I enjoyed was the title pages. It expands every single time.
I was about to say that. Yeah, that was one of the things I really liked was this character's known world.
Mm-hmm.
Each chapter, it gets longer as the story goes. So that's pretty cool.
Yep, I really like that fact where, as he explores the world, you see more of his world shown in that first map of his. And there's lots of like interesting little details that might be missed if you're not paying attention, because I remember in the forest they were talking about, some crazy murderer, murdering people and then like planting trees out of their bodies.
Yeah, feeding the candy and then planting. Yeah.
And then I went back and a couple pages, because I could have sworn I saw a tree that looked very skeletal. And I think about 3 or 4 pages before that will reveal about, the murderer, there was literally a tree where its trunk looks like a ribcage.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. It's and I kind of wonder, what other little details like in the art that's been put in the book for people to discover, stuff like that.
That I definitely missed. Guarantee it.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it was intentional. I like to think it was intentional.
Well, it has to be, right? Like,
maybe.
I would hope so. I should say, yeah.
Like, it could also be me, having the idea that, there's a murderer planting trees and people and shit, and then, this happens to look like a rib cage, and I was just kind of making a connection in my own head.
I don't know how many trees, even in fantasy stories, happen to look like rib cages.
Well, it's when I said rib cage, it's like it vaguely resembles a rib cage.
I don't remember seeing it, so I'm gonna have to go look.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna go with that it's what you're assuming.
Yeah.
And it was intended that way. That way this book feels even better.
Hell yeah.
I wanted, did they also explain why the gnomes were oppressed?
I don't think so.
Why the gnomes? Is it because they're tiny and easy to manipulate?
I would assume that's the reason.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. Because they're weak.
Yeah. Poor gnomes.
Yeah. And what were they being subjected? They're being subjected to, stories.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To act out, stories that we would write about in the real world.
Right.
But in this fantasy setting.
Yes.
Which is kind of weird.
It is weird because, if I recall, they talk about the gnomes being oppressed earlier in the book. Towards the end of the book, when they go to the banned book library or whatever it was, they go through the series of rooms, and those rooms are separate stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where we see the gnomes actually acting out and doing shit, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm okay. So we're jump. I'm hoping there is more books after this, because the writers, the creators, create a world I'm I don't know if I'm actually invested in it, but I'm very curious.
Yeah, super curious.
What's going on?
Yeah, it sinks its claws into you.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
It's a fun read.
And it's funny because these, going back again to the banned book library, and we can backtrack later. I'm sure that each of those rooms were referencing different stories, and I did not spend any time trying to figure out what they were, except for the Edgar Allan Poe room.
Yeah.
Like, because that one was super obvious to me.
Right.
And that's something I'm semi-familiar with growing up. But then there was also, outside of that, Hansel and Gretel, basically, right?
Yeah.
That's where the candy house was.
Yep.
So I'm curious to know what other stories were seeped into this story from the outside of the fantasy world character perspective. The Folklords, right? So.
Yeah, it's I want to say that there's a reference to like Little Red Riding Hood or something like that. I could have sworn there was.
Where at? I don't recall that.
I don't remember.
It's in the woods somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
Somewhere.
And
there's like a wolf.
And there's red something.
Yeah.
Piece of cloth, maybe.
Yeah. Exactly. No, it was a picture of a strawberry.
I did like the fantasy world though. Like before they even got to these other stories, I guess, or tropes. It felt like a fun little fantasy world to hang out. There's like the Leaf Village, where dude would go hang out with that chick. There's one elf.
Yeah.
Who we find out later, who I think we find out later, is like real world. And why Archer keeps disappearing is because like bouncing back to the real world instead of engaging.
I think the elf is just an elf in the fantasy world. The character you're talking about the very last issue. I think that's a completely different character that just introduced at the very end.
Oh, I thought it was Archer, and I had just read it like because they kept saying, "Where did Archer go? Archer disappeared," and I thought that was that character not being in the library reading at that time or in one of the various. Because at the end there's like a pentagram.
Yeah.
And then like a library, and then a like antiques bookstore and stuff like that. So I just assumed that character was only engaged when. But there's no real connection.
Yeah.
But I just was like, I thought it was the same person. That's why.
Okay. Because that Archer elf does like disappear a lot.
Right.
But I believe at that little epilogue thing where I think the new characters are introduced, they were looking for Ansel, which is the main character in the fantasy world. So it doesn't quite make sense for Archer to be looking for Ansel.
Okay.
Right?
When they already interact.
Right.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense.
Now, a note on Archer, I think it's really interesting, the section where he was talking about his past, because there was, the pet peeve of, narration,
right?
And it's showing me what's going on, but the thing is, they did it right, where the narration doesn't actually match up with what's being depicted in the pictures,
right?
And it's like, okay, good use of narration,
right,
and stuff. So we're understanding that okay, Archer's an unreliable narrator and not necessarily trustworthy, or maybe he's feeling ashamed about his past or something.
Right.
There's something going on that he's not telling the truth. And I thought that was cool.
It was cool. I also really enjoyed the fairy troll. It was a very sweet fairy troll that just wanted pies.
Yeah. It makes me sad, because it seems like all trolls are being blinded?
Yeah.
So what the fuck?
Well, we run into two trolls, right?
I think so, yeah.
And they're being blinded intentionally, right?
Yeah.
So.
Like, god damn it.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. It's like, fuck these librarians, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Which are basically just cops.
Shh. They shush people.
Yeah. But, yeah, the librarians are basically the cops. The thought police.
Yeah.
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 Uh,
Well, and it's funny too, because I guess a coming of age thing in this world is you get to choose a quest, go on said quest, and then the thought police come in and say no quest for anyone except for these quests we tell you to do, which is be narcs
yeah.
or be spies,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
Fuck
Rat
you.
out your friends.
Yeah, rat out your friends so they can die.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, fuck those guys. But I don't know. So part of the plot is like apparently years ago there was an attempt.
I'm a library. I'm gonna keep doing that. Just ruin everything. Ruin your train of thought. Ruin the episode. Fucking librarians. They're everywhere. Now, what were you saying?
I forgot where I was going.
Hell yeah, it works. Thought police.
Oh
No thinking for you.
shit, it worked.
I am a folklore thought police.
You are. You're captain of the guard, or whatever they got going on.
I'm letting this ride out too.
It's just, shh in my head. It's just, shh. It's like having static in your head.
Yes.
There was like an attempt to overthrow the librarians like in the past by like people who were going on their quest, right? Because there's that lady in the village who did the exact same quest the year before, right? And then there's that guy who infiltrated the librarians.
Yes. But was it were they trying to overthrow, or were they just kind of, did they
Well, maybe
explicitly state that?
maybe what it was they were looking for the Folklore 2.
Yeah.
Or Folklords 2, and then realized, oh wait, this is forbidden territory and we gotta infiltrate whatever.
Right.
Maybe that's what it was. Well, it seemed odd, like, to me, where the older guy who actually dressed up as the librarians essentially became the chief of the police at the end of that little arc.
He did.
Yeah.
By just making up some bullshit, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see if he does end up reforming this fake police.
That would be really awesome. That would be a great story arc.
Yeah.
Is that character reforming the librarians, and then what does that become, and how does that further elevate the world, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, other than that, there's really just more questions than there really are any answers.
Big time. Big time. Because for a moment there, I don't remember exactly when, I just kind of thought there was a part of it to where I thought maybe they were insinuating that you, the reader, were a folklord through the process. But then no, there's an actual dude typing on a typewriter.
Right.
And there's a writer's room that we don't know, we haven't seen, they just talked about. And that's the next step of the quest. It's like, okay, so there is a weird breaking down of the fourth wall that ends up not breaking down the fourth wall.
Yeah, it's like a soft. It's like a little peephole.
Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. Because it really feels like that it is, but then you realize it's not.
Yeah, it's like some really, I don't know, fancy literary trickery happening here that I don't quite understand, but I like it.
It's done well and it's super interesting. Yeah. And I get my fantasy shit. As we all know, I just love fantasy.
Right.
So it's tied in really well.
On that fourth wall note, I'm most of my time thinking about this book after I read it is like how many narrators are there?
Yep.
Who is the narrator? Because like there's different font types for
Yep.
each of these narrations, and I'm like,
There are.
what the hell is going on?
And then there's almost some of the text bubbles are almost digital too, like in the font or whatever,
Right.
Which leads you to believe a more modern, maybe a computer. So it's it's good, and it leaves breadcrumbs, which they bring up in the book also.
Yeah.
Ah!
So I think like I'm probably gonna grab the second volume if there is one, and hopefully there is, because this is a really interesting book.
Yeah, or at least some spin-off.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but super interested. Really well done. Left me with a ton more questions, like you had said. But it's like, but it's not annoying. Well, it's
Right.
annoying in the sense where it's like, fuck, I need to know. But it's not annoying to where I feel like it's a cliffhanger.
Right. It feels natural.
Yes. Yes.
It ended on where it probably should have ended. Like, yeah, it's just overall just a really well written book.
Yep. And slightly different than most things that I've read. So.
Yeah.
The album this time was Sepultura, Quadra, released in 2020 on Nuclear Blast.
Yeah.
Not Napalm. And I assume they're still from Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume they're still living down there.
I think they are.
Okay.
So, I like how the album started with a choir singing "Sus," and it ended with Derek screaming, I believe, "Let me out."
And it also ended with like a completely different vocalist on that track. Some lady was singing at the very end.
Yeah. Well, I just thought like the beginning and the end were like, it encapsulates how I feel about this album. It's like, yeah, it's a little sus, and at the end it's like, yeah, let me out.
Let me out. We're done.
Yeah. It's certainly not early Sepultura.
Nope.
I did like some of the riffing on the earlier parts of the album.
Yep.
But for the most part, it doesn't do much for me.
Nope. It's super forgettable.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly not the worst thing ever.
No.
You know, I've definitely heard horrible music, and this isn't, I would say that, but it's definitely more accessible to a wider audience, maybe, is a good way to put it. And to that point, kind of forgettable.
Yeah. I guess in his defense, I will say it's better than Soulfly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's got that going for it.
Yep. And it's funny to me because on this album, it sounds like Derek is trying to be later Chuck Billy. Like if you listen to later Testament and this album, like the vocals, it's like that you're fucking Chuck Billy right now.
You're fucking.
I realized what came out of my mouth after.
You think that's how they did the vocals? It's actually Derek fucking Chuck Billy, and they recorded it.
Yep, that's what it is. And those aren't vocals. That's just the noise of the sex.
It didn't even come from any of their throats.
It's just how that clapping
orifices.
sounds.
Yeah. They get their organs to be very articulate.
Yeah. A lot of angles.
I have to go back and listen and see if I can hear the resemblance.
Seriously, though. And that also made me think, too, how, we'll just say older bands, and there's caveats to this, and I'll get to that, but basically I just don't care. With Sepultura or Testament or Creator, whatever. I don't care that you're making new music.
Yeah.
Which sounds weird, but it's like, I want the stuff that made your bands, and that's it. I don't need new stuff from you, because it's been not good.
Yeah.
But then, the counterpoint to that is we just listened to Immolation's latest album, and it fucking ruled.
Yeah.
So maybe I just need to give things a shot. Or maybe it's just thrash bands that are horrible now.
I mean, maybe. I just feel like a lot of people don't realize they've run out of ideas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're trying to make a career, too.
That's true.
So I get it.
Yeah.
And you've got a name. You can keep pumping shit out, and there's going to be a core audience that buys your shit.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason that we listened to this album is because I went to a Sepultura show. And it wasn't bad. I mean, it was fine. They didn't play hardly anything I wanted, which is the case nowadays. But I went to see Sacred Reich, who ended up not playing because one of the dudes had the flu or something.
Not lame.
So I saw Crowbar, which was, they played the one song I want to hear, and the rest is like, all right, let's get to the one song I want to hear. And then the band I wanted to see didn't play, and then Sepultura went on and didn't play any music I wanted to hear. So
that sounds like a bad night.
It wasn't. It was okay because it was heavy metal.
Yeah.
But
a little disappointing.
Yeah, a little disappointing. It's like, okay, well. But then I just didn't realize that they had a new album. Mm-hmm. And their backdrop was the coin or whatever that the album art is on this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, maybe, fuck it. There's something new to listen to. And then maybe we shouldn't have. But whatever.
Now, I looked up this album just to get some background info. Mm-hmm. Because apparently I do some research sometimes. But apparently it's a concept album, and the concept is the number 4.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Why is it not just 4 tracks then?
I don't fuck. Because I think it's 12, right? 12 is divisible by 4, and it's like divided into 3 sections.
Oh, is it? Or are you just making that up?
I'm not. I'm getting this off the wiki.
Okay.
So maybe Wiki's making
Gotcha.
some shit up.
Gotcha.
But after reading that, I can kind of see where the delineations are. Like the first 3 songs are the thrashier ones,
right,
with the more riff-driven stuff. And then apparently a group of 3 songs are supposed to be like the Roots era tribal-y stuff. And then there's supposed to be a group of 3 that's supposed to be like more proggy or whatever, which I didn't really get that.
Well, I kind of got that a little bit. It's probably within that realm. This is a returning thing with the track The Pentagram. It had kind of... It was to me, a Sepultura attempt at thrashy prog.
Okay.
Like, if you listen to it, it has some decent riffs or whatever, and then they kind of, like, changed direction a little bit, and it came off more as just like, check this riff out. Check this riff out. Dude, check this riff out. Instead of an actual progressive song.
Right.
But it was kind of cool. So I could see that section, that song being in that section.
Fair. And I don't remember what the 4th one is supposed to be. But
and again, I could tell with different styling there. The second to last song, it felt like they were trying to do this atmospheric type of sound or song. It wasn't good. Yeah. And I don't think thrash bands or groove bands or whatever the hell they are now should try that, because that's not in the genre's wheelhouse.
No.
Like, don't.
Yeah. And
then after that was the lady singing. I was like, why is this bitch here? Where did she come from?
Now that I think about it, like, atmosphere and thrash, I don't know, the only thing that pops into my head is Call of Cthulhu off of Ride the Lightning. That's kind of an atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it also is Riff City.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
So, yeah, thrash bands can't do it, but you just do it. Do it right.
Just don't.
Or no.
Just don't. Give me aggressive riffs.
Yeah.
Be angry at the government or drink beer.
And be fast.
Yeah, be fast. Mm-hmm. You're thrash. Even you, creator, goddammit. I love your melodic stuff. It's cool. But it's not fast creator, and I want fast fucking creator. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to get that at Merciful Fate tomorrow.
No. See, I'm trying to play the game where it's I'm trying to balance out parking spot with not having to see bands I don't really have to see.
Yep.
And I can't quite figure out the math on that right now.
Especially for that venue.
Yeah.
I don't know what my plan is either.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that wanted to show up early and just sit in a parking lot. But
that's a possibility.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. It is pretty chilly.
Yeah.
Now, so yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. It's a tabernacle too. Mm-hmm. I just don't know where to park in that area.
There's all kinds of parking around there.
Yeah.
I'm with you. It's because we rarely go.
Yeah.
But I looked online a couple days ago, and there's a lot of parking lots.
Okay.
Literally all in that area.
Okay. Well, hopefully none of it is too expensive.
Yeah. I think it was 15 or less. Most of the places.
Yeah.
And some were different. But none of those are Sepultura albums.
No, none of them are.
But it's far more interesting than this album was.
Yeah, because it's Merciful Fate adjacent.
Yeah. Literally, you're parking adjacent to where they're playing.
I wonder when they're going to go on tomorrow.
I don't know.
I'm just imagining people listening to us talk about what we're going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is entertainment, guys.
It's Merciful Fate. Surely, if you're listening to this, surely you know the importance of watching Merciful Fate live. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, why are you listening to us? Mm-hmm. You should stop listening to us and start listening to Merciful Fate this instant.
Yeah. I mean, if at any point when you're not listening to Merciful Fate, you should probably consider listening to Merciful Fate.
Yeah.
He agrees.
So hopefully in the future, I don't think I have anything lined up that's kind of like this. I think we get some more interesting stuff coming up.
Okay.
If I recall, because I've listened to some of them.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I'm going to put that on the list so I can talk about it. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm not lying to you right now. But I think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't recall putting anything else like this on our list. At least I did.
Yeah.
It might be one or two left field stuff because that's kind of what I do anyways.
Right.
But
right.
You know, nothing like current Sepultura.
Yep.
So you're welcome.
I want to. So Sepultura played Maryland Death Fest, or some version of it. Was that? Do you know who was in that this past year?
Oh, this past year?
Yeah. Was it Max and Igor?
Oh, when they were doing Arise and
before, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Max and Igor.
Okay.
And I don't know who else.
Okay.
But it was Max and Igor, I'm pretty sure.
I'm curious to know more about that set.
Yeah.
Because in my head, it has a potential to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Kilpatrick went to the Atlanta show, at least, I think. Or a show that was nearby.
Oh, they did more than just MDF?
Yeah, they did a whole, they did several dates.
No shit.
Yeah, but I don't think that any of them were in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to hit her up, see what's up.
Yeah, I think they played 2 albums. I just don't recall which 2.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
Might be a Rise in Chaos AD, maybe?
I would hope they would go the other way.
Yeah.
Give me a Horizon before, please.
Right.
Anyway, don't listen to this Sepultura album. Listen to the Sepultura albums that made Sepultura Sepultura.
Mm-hmm. Max and Igor.
Dingus and Dongus.
They Marco.